And I'm Kat. Welcome to the Crime Chat. I am your forensic femme fatale, Natalie, is your true crime addict connoisseur.
We're just two normal girls who not only bring you dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown, but we are your crime chat duo who has some really big news to let you know about tonight.
We've collabed. We have an official collaboration with Mad Love Cosmetics. We have our very own crime and cosmetic beauty line.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. And it's season 1, so it's named after our crime and cosmetic villains.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple bonus from season 1, like the lipstick killer, the bloodbath 3, Alyssa DeVault, the YouTube makeup artist killer.
And of course, the one, the only, Aqua Tofana.
Miss Julia Tofana herself, center stage.
And Marilyn Monroe.
We had to include Marilyn Monroe in this crime and cosmetics. So we've got eyeshadow, we've got lashes and lippies that are on the way.
Yes.
So go to www.madlovecosmetics.com to pre-order right meow.
Yeah, right now. Right now.
Do it right meow. Do it right meow. Crime and Cosmetic Specialties, our Crime Chat with Nat Cat collaboration with Mad Love Cosmetics. So exciting.
Yes. Support your girls.
Yes.
Go get your palette and lippies and lashes and look fierce.
You're going to love all the blood.
All of it.
All of the blood.
All the murder.
All the kill. So here's your disclaimer, chatters. The following Crime Chat does contain adult content and descriptions of very violent scenarios today. I'm also going to throw in an additional trigger warning. We're going to talk about the death of children. We're also going to talk about suicide. So please feel free to skip. Come back next week. If you're hanging in there, chatters, your listener discretion is advised.
Yes, and you have been warned. And before we get into today's crime chat, Kat, what have you done?
House of Dragons.
You could not stay away.
Resist.
You could not stay away.
Oh my gosh, it's freaking amazing. My husband actually said, so we've watched the first 3 episodes, right? He's like, this is going to be better than Game of Thrones. And I'm sitting there, look, what do we do when we find characters? We Google them, right? So Rhaenyra Targaryen, I'm like, where does she fit in the line? How is she related to the Mad King?
Yes.
Like, where does Jon Snow come into this play? Like, I'm literally going, like, what's your family tree, Targaryens?
Yes. Yeah.
Freaking amazing. Wow.
It's an incredible rabbit hole to go down. I mean, I know whose dragon is who and what their special features are.
Targaryens.
So let me ask you a question. So who are your 2 favorite characters in House of Dragon right now?
I think it's Rhaenyra the daughter, and I hate Daemon.
Do you?
Yeah, but I know he's gonna come back, but I hate him because Matt Smith is his name.
Yeah.
He plays an amazing evil character.
He does.
Amazing evil character.
He does.
Do you remember a while back, a few episodes back, I was telling you about a movie I watched on the plane called A Night in Soho?
Yes.
He was the evil character in that movie.
So me.
You gotta watch A Night in Soho.
I gotta check it out. Yeah, you said that before. I have to check it out. But just so you know, like Daemon Targaryen, from what I researched and when I read the books, like that, the writer, George Martin, his favorite character to write was Daemon Targaryen. So,
and because of everything that's surrounding him, like there's so much, his wanting to be the king, and I did look ahead, and Rhaenyra and Daemon get married.
Yes, they do.
Oh my God, she marries her uncle.
In the last episode, they wanted to marry her to her brother. The baby.
Well, that's true, the baby.
So,
yes.
So, like,
her half brother.
Yeah. So, I think Daemon is going to be that character that you want to hate, but you don't want to fight without him on your side.
I could see that. Okay.
Yeah. So, he's like one of those bratty, spoiled, entitled people, but he does have this kind of he has this incredible conflict within himself where he said it, like, when he was having that conversation by the fire pit, he was like, you can't, don't talk bad about the king. That's my brother. I can talk bad about the king. Like,
yeah, no, and that's so true with family, right?
Yes.
You better not talk shit about my family.
So
I could talk shit about my family, but you better not. Hell no.
So there's a level where I like them, and then there's a level where I'm like, what a fucking idiot.
I'm with you there.
Yeah.
Oh, so the other thing I watched was on Netflix. I think it's a limited 3-part series, 3-part episode. I Just Killed My Dad.
What?
Yeah, you haven't seen that?
No, is it good? Is it good?
Yes.
Is it out? Now?
Yes. Yeah, it's on Netflix now.
Ooh.
And it's a Netflix original. And this kid was 16 or 17, shot his dad. But as they go back and start to peel the onion layer on this kid, he was kidnapped by his father. He was likely physically, definitely emotionally abused. Yeah. His father refused to let him go to school. He was homeschooled, but when he was 16 years old, he had the grade level of a 5th grader. This kid, the night that he killed his father, he felt like he was going to die. And that was self-defense. So that he ended up getting probation. Okay. He pled to manslaughter, ended up getting just probation. He definitely for him.
Yeah. Just like you would feel for a woman.
Did it have to come to that? There was you just gotta watch it. It was freaking insane. Probably a really good crime chat to do.
Okay, let's do it.
On this kid, yeah. So you gotta watch it and let me know what you think.
What state was it in? Florida?
Louisiana.
Oh, okay.
Louisiana.
Okay.
Louisiana.
All right, I'll check that out.
Well, what about you?
What have I done? Oh, House of Dragons. Done that. I've been I've just been doing the House of Dragons lore and catching and brushing up on the history and stuff like that, and I just love and I'm heartbroken because they just announced that Miguel Sapochnik is not going to continue as creative director.
Oh.
He's the guy. So Miguel Sapochnik is the guy that brought us every single amazing episode from Game of Thrones. So he did all the big wars. He did all the long nights. He did that.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Yeah, and he took creative control over this, but he's like, I only got one season in me. That's it. I'm like, oh no.
Well, you know what? I will say I was very happy that they kept the theme music.
Yes.
Dun, 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 dun,
yes.
dun, 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 dun,
you know who I like, though, out of everyone? She's
dun,
not, in there yet, but you'll see more of her. Rhaenys Targaryen. I like that girl. Because if there's anybody in that show that reminds me of Daenerys Targaryen, it's Rhaenys.
Okay.
The queen that never was.
Yes.
She's a badass. She's a warrior.
Wasn't she?
She was the, so she's the granddaughter of the king, Jacaerys, that gave Viserys his throne.
Okay.
But he skipped over his granddaughter to get to him. She was older.
Oh, yes. Yes. So she's the one that married
the sea snake or whatever.
The sea snake guy. Okay. Yeah.
Another bad. That's just a badass couple. It's a truly, and their kids ride dragons. She rides a dragon. Yep. He owns everything. Come on.
It's gonna be great.
Yes.
Great series. We'll see how far it goes. Now, Kit Harington is actually supposed to...
That's Jon Snow.
He's supposed to come back and have a series with Jon Snow, the post, what happens after he gets exiled.
That would be amazing. I love him.
Yes.
Drogon's coming back to him.
Oh, yes. Well, we had a very rough episode last time.
I know. Sorry.
Unit 731 and all of its horrors. This episode is going to be just as heavy.
And it's not going to be my fault this time. It's Kat's fault.
It's me. But I would like you to lighten it up a little bit before we get into all of the things.
I will do my best.
Okay.
But I know your story is going to be dark. So I figured today we will go over some of Nat's nutty news.
Yay! Breaking news.
I'm going to bring 5 stories that I found in headlines, from all over the world. I'm not focusing directly on Florida this time, even though there's plenty of Florida stories.
No more Florida man.
Not right now. Next Nat
I mean, he is around doing shenanigans, but...
Of course he is. Of course he is.
Yeah, always.
Okay, Kat. So, my first story that I pulled from the headlines, the headline reads, Indonesian police burn 3.3 tons of weed and get the entire town high. That's actually the title. And I'm reading it. I'm like, well, you know what? I would have worded it different, but that's the actual headline.
But I mean, if that's the purpose of the article, if like, you know, that's the headline's supposed to catch you.
Yeah.
Well, it caught me.
Hey, there it is. Whoop,
and
there
it
is.
got me high. Just kidding.
So in 2015, the police accidentally got their residents high as kites when they burned 3.3 tons of a pile of marijuana.
And now this is one hell of a control burn.
Yes, this is.
That we used to do control burns just to get, you know, familiar with like the smell. Like if you were to smell it, if you go into a place, like you'd be able to. And it's such a significant smell. Like literally it is. So this is one hell of a contact high.
Yes, that's exactly what they say in the article. They say a number of residents, including the journalist in Indonesian neighborhood, reported feeling dizzy, headaches, intoxicated when the plume of smoke blew over their streets.
Oh gosh. Yes.
Basically giving the entire town a contact high.
Awesome.
Yeah. That would be fun.
We're in Indonesia. No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Moving on. Okay. Next headline reads, Kentucky man sues himself after being hit by his own boomerang.
What?
So
oh my gosh.
In 1996, Larry Ruttman won $300,000 in a judgment against himself after he was hit in the head with a boomerang that he threw. Yeah.
Oh my God. Like, how? Like, you pay out $300,000, but you get $300,000?
Well, there's something there because the story went on, and somehow, like, he didn't have to pay himself, but somehow he made money because he said that, he goes, the most amazing part of all of this is the fact that he will get his money from the insurance company, and he won't have to pay a cent. I'm gonna go smack myself around the house.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's crazy.
All right, next one. Missing woman unwittingly joins search party looking for herself. That would be something we would do. We would do that.
I would look for you and me.
Yeah, we would be like, we're missing.
Yeah.
We're missing. So
let's go.
Yeah.
On location.
So in 2012, a group of tourists spent hours Saturday night looking for a missing woman near Iceland's canyon, only to find her amongst the search party. The woman did not recognize her description. Join the search.
How much beer did she drink?
Mm-hmm.
Like Irish whiskey?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I don't know. But you know what? We all have those nights, I guess. I don't know.
I guess so.
All right.
I prefer not to remember those
Exactly.
nights.
So, next story. Police arrest goat accused of armed robbery.
It wasn't me.
This one, it has a dark ending, I'm sorry, but
they killed the goat.
So in 2009, police in Nigeria held a goat on suspicion of attempted armed robbery. They seized a black and white goat, saying that it was an armed robber who had used black magic to transform himself into an animal to escape after trying to steal a Mazda 323. And we cannot confirm the story, but the goat is in their custody. That's what they said. They continue. We cannot base our information on something mystical. It has to be proven scientifically. A human being turned into a goat, he said. If released, the goat will be killed for Christmas. And there goes your witness. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so the last story.
Have you ever eaten goat before?
I have not.
I mean lamb or...
Yeah, lamb. I've had lamb.
I've had lamb. Okay.
I've had goat cheese.
Okay.
That's good. That's delicious, actually.
I've had goat kebabs.
Is it good?
It tastes like chicken. It was meat. And there's a lot of things that I've eaten that I don't necessarily want to know what it was. I'm pretty sure I've had camel. I'm pretty sure I've had dog.
And you think it all tastes like chicken?
It's just meat.
It's just meat.
It's just
That's
meat.
True.
Let's just eat it. I don't want to know.
So the last story is good. I left the best for last, of course. So,
of course,
wife crashes her own funeral, horrifying her husband, who had paid to have her killed.
Oh shit! Oh yes. So these are the best. Did you ever see the one where it was like a a very newlywed couple. They were married less than a year. They were both into working out, and she hires a hitman to kill her husband.
Yes.
But she gets caught. Like, this was in, like, Forensic Files. It was in so many different, like, type of things.
Girl, that was in Florida. That's the girl that...
Of course it was in Florida.
She got caught by the police. Like, the police was setting her up.
And they were, because they were at the house, and, like, your husband's been killed, and she's like, oh my God. And then during her subject interview, he comes in the room, and he's like, I'm alive, bitch. What? It was great.
Yes. Oh my God, that's a good story. We gotta cover that. Okay.
Yeah.
In 2016, the late Mrs. sat in her car outside a funeral home in Australia, watching as a few mourners filed out of her funeral. Finally, she spotted the man she's been waiting for. She stepped out of her car, and her husband looked in horror because he thought she was in the casket. Okay. He yells out, "Is it my eyes?" As she recalls him saying, "Is it my eyes? Is it a ghost? Surprise! I'm still alive, bitch." She didn't say bitch, but of course, Nat and Gat, we say bit.
Bitch!
The man looked terrified. 5 days earlier, he ordered a team of hitmen to kill her after a 10-year marriage.
That's a commitment.
Yeah.
10 years. Yeah.
And they told him they did. They succeeded. She was dead, but obviously they didn't.
Yeah.
Leading...
Surprise.
Yeah.
I'm still alive.
Exactly. And leading to an awkward situation. Now, Aquadafana, as you know, would never make this mistake.
Miss Julia, our queen.
Yeah. So the lady recalled how he touched her shoulder to make sure she was real. I'm like, are you real? Are you real? And then he's...
Don't touch
me. Yeah, seriously. He's like, I'm sorry for everything. But at that point, it was too late for apologies. She called the police.
It's too late to apologize.
Yes. He was sentenced to 9 years in prison for inciting murder. Yep, in Australia.
Okay.
So that's my 5 wacky headlines in Nat's Nutty News. I hope that brought some lightness to this episode, because we're about to take a deep dive, aren't we?
We are. Are you ready?
Yes.
Do you have your wine?
I'm clutching my wine with both hands as Kat's about to begin a story that I have.
Do you have your chat with Nat and Kat wine glass?
No, I have a solo cup. We're not going to judge.
We're not judging. No. We're not judging.
The wine glass I used like an hour ago, and it's in the sink.
Okay. Well, here we go. In 1994, a young 23-year-old mother of 2 pleaded to national news media for the man who hijacked her car with her 2 babies inside and to bring her children home safely. After 9 days, just 9 days, she admitted to killing her 3-year-old and 14-month-old boys, leaving them strapped to their car seats as she let her car roll down into John D. Long Lake in Union County, South Carolina.
Oh.
Introducing Susan Smith, arguably the most hated woman in America, definitely in South Carolina.
Yeah.
Do you remember this case?
I do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I remember last time you were like, I don't really know if I remember it, but yes.
Now I do.
Fucking Susan Smith. I'm going to take a swig because this is going to be deep. Okay. Susan Lee Vaughn was born in Union, South Carolina, which is like an hour and a half away from me. It's less than 2 hours away. Union is called the City of Hospitality. Very small town, just a couple stoplights, that kind of thing. She was born September 26, 1971 to Linda Sue Harrison and Harry Ray Vaughn. Bitch is a Libra. Ugh. She's the same sign.
Oh, no.
Damn it. As with many cases we have covered, Susan had a very rough upbringing wherein her father committed suicide when she was only 6 years old.
God.
And typically, people whose parents have committed suicide, they have a higher chance of also committing and or attempting suicide. So Susan's first attempt to take her own life was when she was 13 years old. Her mother eventually remarried a member of the local chapter of the Christian Coalition. Of course, remember, we're in the Bible Belt here. The man was named Beverly Russell, and he allegedly molested her from the age of 15 up until just a few months before she murdered her children.
Oh, my Lord.
She was 23 when she murdered her children.
Oh, my God.
When Susan was 18 years old, she was in a relationship with a married man. When he called it off, she then made a second attempt to take her own life. She then met and married David Smith when she became pregnant with Michael, who is the eldest of the two boys. It was an on-again, off-again relationship wherein both had bouts of infidelity between both him and her. And during one of their separations, Susan began to date one of the most eligible bachelors in Union.
Ooh.
Tom Findlay. While Susan had high hopes of a very stable relationship and a stable future, Tom did not see it that way. In October 1994, he wrote her a Dear Jane letter explaining how he did not see their lives together. She was not suitable for him, and he did not want the responsibility of having a family, basically taking in her children, at this point in his life. This struck Susan something crazy, and she said she never felt so alone.
Wow.
Now, at the time, she worked at the same company as Tom. She was a secretary, and he was the son of the CEO. She left work around 3 p.m. that day to pick up Michael and Alex, and then Susan drove to a local tavern to talk to a friend about what happened, that he broke up with her, and blah, blah, blah. So she went back to the office again to try and patch things up with Tom, but it failed. She went home, made pizza for dinner, and then she called her friend who worked back at the tavern and said, "Hey, did Tom ever show up?" And she's like, "Yeah, he's here." "Well, did he ask about me, or did he say anything about me, or whatever?" And she's like, "No, he didn't say anything."
Yeah.
So she is like spiraling at this point. She put her kids in their car seat and thought that a drive throughout the countryside would do her some good, clear her head. She went to the local Walmart and then went to drive to see a friend, but she never actually made it from the Walmart to her friend's house. At an intersection in downtown Union, downtown, of course, not like a downtown like you would see even in Florida. It's a very like 1-2, stoplight kind of town. She said a black man broke into her car with a gun and said, quote, "Drive or I'll kill you," end quote. She panicked, but later said that she did just as she was told because she was concerned about her life and the life of her children. And they drove away from downtown Union. She was driving in the direction that he was telling her to go in with a gun against her ribs and the kids crying in the back seat. Susan said that she just did what she could.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. When they reached the access road to John D. Long Lake in Union, Susan said that the man told her to stop and get out of the car. She pleaded for her children, but she said he pushed her out of the car. Susan ran to the nearest house and called 911. The sheriff called the FBI and the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, what we call SLED. It's our state law enforcement. Within days, special agents from all over between the FBI and SLED were on the hunt for this black man that Susan described as the one who hijacked her car and kidnapped her children. David Smith, the father, responded also right away to the house. After she called 911, she called him and rushed to Susan's side. He believed Susan and never had, quote, "a shadow of a doubt," end quote, that she was telling the truth. A search went on for 9 days, exposing a lie that would shock the entire nation and international. I mean, it attracted international news media at this time. But by all accounts, she was a beautiful, loving mother. And as the search began, there was a tearful mother then pleading in the news for the return of the children. And as the investigation went on, it peeled back a very ugly truth. Following up on leads of the black carjacker, the police suspicion was raised only because that when the details that she provided in the description and like of the composite drawing of the suspect, they were very vague. And there was one news media that was interviewed. I watched this American Justice documentary on this actual case. American Justice was a TV show that was by A&E, and one of the WIS, which is in Columbia, South Carolina. It's my favorite news channel. It's local. My favorite local channel. But anyway, so she was on there and she just said that when the composite drawing came out, it was so controversial. And she described it as half of the men living in South Carolina, in Columbia, South Carolina at the time, fit the description of the suspect. And the police actually had to be very, very careful. This was the 90s. Racial tensions. They had to be very careful on pursuing this manhunt and trapping themselves into this profiling of a suspect. The composite drawing itself was very controversial, and that one news media representative said they ended up taking it off the air in that picture because it they went back and forth, and eventually they pulled it off the air from the news media just because it was so subjective.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Now I remember this case a little bit more.
Yeah. So in Union, in the meantime, thousands of volunteers posted signs of the missing boys. There was volunteers that were just going out and searching this acres upon acres of land, right? Susan made television appearances to the news pleading for her children's return, but doubts grew rapidly. On the second day of the search, she failed her polygraph. Susan immediately became belligerent when she was confronted with the failed polygraph. She cussed out the investigator. She just, completely turned and was like, how dare you? F you, blah, 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 whatever. So they knew, police at this time, that they could not intimidate her into a confession. They'd have to be very, very calculated and careful on their approach. Yeah. And I've seen subjects like this, too. Like, when you confront them, you're like, dude, you failed a polygraph. Like,
what? That's how they act.
Come at me, bro.
Come at me.
Yeah, come at me, bro. Okay, so the third day, searches continue, right? We're searching for the kiddos. A car matching Susan's description of her car was located in North Carolina, and there was a lot of hopes for this. Like, maybe that will pan out, but that did end in a dead end.
Yeah.
A search of Susan's home came up with nothing, and that's typical of police. Whenever there's something that happens, you do searches of homes, vehicles, like you do as much search as you can to collect as much evidence because people leave stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So, after about a week, Susan and David, Daddy, appeared on the news again, and Susan said, quote, your daddy and I love you so much. You guys have got to be strong. I just feel in my heart that you're okay. You've got to take care of each other. Your mommy and daddy will be waiting on you when you get home, end quote. And she's crying and she's pleading. But as I'm sitting here, I remember this. I remember watching it on the news.
Yes.
As I was rewatching it, and I'm like, that bitch, she's just like, your daddy and I love you so much.
I'm
I got this
living for your accent right now.
Oh, thank you.
I'm living in...
I mean, I live in South Carolina, so... Oh, my God. You've just got to be strong. And I'm just sitting here, I'm watching it, though, and I'm just like, woman!
Evil.
You are fire.
Evil.
Ugh.
Maniacal.
So police did begin to discover inconsistencies in her story as well. So she failed the poly, right? Inconsistencies in the story. The greeters at Walmart said they did not recall seeing her at all on the night of October 25th, as she claimed. The friend's house that she said she was going to wasn't even in town at the time. Wasn't even home. I mean, it's possible, if you're in a panic and you're like, I'm just gonna go drive to my friend's house.
I love that you put on your southern accent. This is the best.
I'm just gonna drive to my friend's house. Okay.
Oh my God.
Look, I'm sorry. If it does come out in this, I'm
love
sorry,
it.
okay?
I love it.
But the friend wasn't even home. So, in addition to that, the intersection that she stopped at where she said the hijacker came into the car, she said there was no possible witnesses. She was the only one there. There was no other cars around at the intersection. And in her statement, she wrote that she stopped at a red light. And this is where she was at and got hijacked. Well, carjacked. However, police looked into it. That light that she was at would only turn red at that intersection with cross traffic.
Oh.
So that would mean if she was actually at a red light, that meant that there was traffic going.
There was another car. Yeah.
Yeah.
There had to be another car. It would be green for her.
Exactly.
Oops.
So when police confronted her about this at the stoplight, she's like, oh, no, I'm sorry. I was mistaken. It wasn't a stoplight. It was a stop sign.
Oh, boy.
So she changed the whole intersection. She changed that it was a stoplight to a stop sign. This bitch changed her story. And one investigator said, quote, it was like an elaborate chess match. She'd make a move, we'd make a move, until finally it got resolved, end quote.
Oh, my God. Yeah. Her children. At the pinnacle is her children, and what the fuck?
We'll get into that.
Oh, boy.
Yes. Okay. So national news media also became very skeptical. As she's going on the news media, this became national news story at this time. Susan, in her own words, would make statements like, I loved them, meaning past tense.
Kidding me?
And that's typical for people who are already aware that the person that they're talking about has deceased.
Oh, shit. I didn't realize she did that. Okay.
I loved them.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So on the 9th day of the search, Susan and David appeared on all 3 national news morning shows at the time. And this, of course, in the 90s, it was only ABC, NBC, and CBS. Mm-hmm. Claiming their innocence. She said on one of the news shows, quote, "It hurts to know that I would be accused or even thought that I would ever do anything to harm my children. As a mother, it's only a natural instinct to protect your children from any harm. And the hardest part of this whole ordeal is not knowing if your children are getting what they need to survive. And it hurt. It hurts real bad."
This is probably the best crime chat I've ever fucking heard in my life. Okay.
Look, chatters, I'm making light of it because this is a
dark story.
I have to be light of it, okay?
Kat's fucking southern voice is giving me realness right now. It's southern realness. Good. Okay, good.
Look, I'm in character, okay?
Yes.
Now, on the same day of the news media that she went on, all 3 news medias, her and David, there was intense interrogations, heavy media scrutiny, and a worn-down Susan asked to meet with law enforcement at a local community center behind a church. It was like a church, and it had this, like, community center or whatever that was behind it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Here, Susan then asked Sheriff Wells, the Union County Sheriff, for his gun. She said she told him her children were not okay, and she sobbed. She confessed her car and the children were at the bottom of John D. Long Lake. After 9 days.
Holy
this is giving me chills. See, this is why I keep it light, right? Okay. So immediately they dispatched a dive team, and there it was. 125 feet from the water's edge, divers found Susan's car upside down under 18 feet of water. One of the divers said he pointed his flashlight into the car as it laid at the bottom, and there he saw the glimpse of a small hand pressed up against the window.
Oh my God, Kat. Oh my God.
As the car pulled out of the lake, the bodies of Michael and Alex were visible through the side windows, and they left them in their car seats as the car was taken away on the back, like, of a wrecker, like a car wrecker.
Yeah.
Their bodies were described as quote-unquote grossly deformed after being underwater for nearly 10 days.
Oh, those babies. Yeah. Oh my God.
So, in my opinion, they were left in the car for a couple of reasons. Because mostly the evidence would have been destroyed by being underwater for so long, right? And investigators tried to maintain the integrity of as much evidence as they possibly could by leaving the boys in the car seat. Plus, discretion. I mean, the news media, national news medias were out there as they pulled the car out. It had a big role to play. They were filming live, and no one would want to see these boys pulled out of their car seats, or out of the car right there at the lake. So, yes. Woo! Okay, back at the church. Susan Smith prepared a written statement, and because of her previous belligerent behavior, police just let her write her statement. And typically, in a statement like this, especially as the story has changed, they would want them to be very specific and say, no, you told us this in your confession, you need to write this out, right? Not necessarily coercing them, but being like, you told us this, you need to write this.
Right, yeah.
However, because of her previous behavior and cussing out them after she was confronted with the polygraph and everything, they thought it would be better for her to just write it on her own. And have something in writing was better than having nothing.
Right.
If they were to confront her and clarify. So in her written confession, Susan said she was in a veil of tears and suicidal after being dumped by Tom Finley. Not wanting her children to live without a mother, she planned to kill herself and her children. She drove to Lake Boat Ramp after driving around Union for about an hour. So she never went to the Walmart. She never went to her friend's house. She just drove around. She let her car go down the boat ramp, but ended up pulling the emergency brake up. And when she got out, she released the brake and watched her car and children get swallowed by the water. That evening, Sheriff Wells announced at a press conference on November 3rd, 1994, quote, Susan Smith has been arrested and will be charged with 2 counts of murder in connection with the deaths of her children, Michael 3 and Alexander 14 months, end quote. And as, like, on live, you could hear the gasps from the audience, from the reporters, from anybody anybody who was there basically when Sheriff Wells was announcing this.
Yeah.
Now, on Sunday, November 6th, 1994, Michael and Alex were laid to rest. Their small bodies were rested together in one casket, one adult-sized casket. The city of Union wept. A shrine was also erected at the boat ramp where they went in to the lake and where they died. David, the father, said that he was heartbroken. Quote, "It was a sickening feeling I've never experienced before in my life. I felt empty. I felt hollow. I felt betrayed." End quote. The country, the state, and the city of Union also felt betrayed by this woman. Their support and love for Susan did a complete 180-degree turn into hatred. It was difficult to comprehend how she could do something like this to her very own children. As she was driven to and from jail to the courthouse, like they had on this American Justice documentary that I watched, they had like the news media clips and stuff, and you could hear them yelling at her in the car, "Baby killer, murderer." I mean, and that's understandable, right? They were angry, especially Black Americans.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she literally blamed a non-existent Black man for something that she did. Yeah. How fucking, that's the bottom of the bottom. Like, that's just, ugh. Yeah. So, of course, the state of South Carolina pursued the death penalty, as they should. But Susan's defense attorney argued that point because Susan already wanted to die. She said that she wanted to die in her statement. She wanted to die with her children. After all, the worst punishment would be that she would have to live with what she had done and not succumb to the death penalty. I personally think this was because she really didn't want to die.
Girl, we don't need to ask taxpayers her fucking bill.
Yeah.
No. She can go.
If she had the opportunity to get out of the car, she had the opportunity to save her fucking kids. Mm-hmm. And if she wanted to die, she should have just fucking died and let her kids live. Right.
And if she does want to die, we can do that for her. But you know what? Honestly, from now on, we're going to be paying for her. Just think about that.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, fuck. Fucking cat. I can't.
But this was an excuse for her, I mean, in my personal opinion, to avoid capital punishment, right? She really did not. If she really wanted to die, her body would have been found with her children if she really wanted to die.
True.
As she wrote in her confessions, a bunch of bullshit, if you ask me. She waived her right to a bond hearing, which meant that she was not released on bond, and that because she was in jail at the time, there was a right to speedy trial. So it went very quickly. She stayed in jail leading into her trial, and honestly, she probably thought it was the safest place for her at the moment was to stay in jail, because honestly, one of the news reporters said that the community just wanted her lynched at this point. Yeah. I want her lynched at this point. And like, ugh. Yeah. So, okay. So that was in October, right? So she was arrested in November. December 12th, she was indicted on 2 charges of murder. And on January 16th, 1995, the state announced it would seek the death penalty. Now, the big O.J. Simpson trial was also going on at the same time in 1995. And you remember that media carnival that was going on?
O.J.
Yes. So after seeing what was happening with the news media being in the courtroom, outside the courtroom, like how the frenzy, the judge imposed a gag order and also said that cameras were not going to be allowed in the courtroom during this time, during her actual trial. So the gag order meant that the case could not be discussed outside of the courtroom, and the jury, which consisted of 9 men and 3 women, 4 were Black, 8 were white, they were sequestered to a local hotel. Once the jury selection had actually happened, they were sequestered and basically separated, and they were told that they could not talk about the trial. They were separated from their families, work, whatever. So prosecution decided, now while not required, that they would actually go after the motive to heighten their chances of a death conviction. They said that Susan murdered her children to win back Tom Finley, known throughout Union again as the most eligible bachelor, and argued that Tom was Susan's ticket to stability and the good life. In the breakup letter, Tom wrote to Susan, quote, "There are some things about you that aren't suited for me. And yes, I'm speaking about your children. I'm sure that your kids are good kids, but it really wouldn't matter how good they may be. The fact is, I just don't want children." End quote.
Okay. All right. He's entitled to that, but that is harsh. That's harsh.
But yeah, I mean.
But he's entitled. But I can see how on her, I could see both perspectives. I could see saying to somebody, I wouldn't do it in a fucking letter.
Well, right. But this is the 90s, I guess. I don't know. I mean, we do people do it in text messages now. I mean, come on.
I know. But if somebody has children, I would be a responsible adult and be like, listen, like,
let them know up front.
Right.
You know what? This isn't going to be a thing. Let's just fuck and, whatever. Or not even get it to that point. I don't know. I mean,
right.
Let them know up
front.
And
if you're gonna break up with a parent based on the fact that she has children or he has children, you don't want to base your breakup on the fact that they have children.
I mean how many Tinder profiles out there actually say I don't want a family?
They don't.
Right?
Basically don't. Yeah.
Because what are your chances of getting laid with somebody who doesn't have kids? I mean, not to say anything about that, but I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
okay.
That's he's fucked up. Regardless of Susan's behavior, he's still a fucked up motherfucker.
Yeah. So on the other side, the defense argued that she was immature and troubled with a history of suicide attempts, the impact of her father's suicide, the admission of sexual abuse by her stepfather, Beverly Russell. The defense had the opportunity to show suicide was more likely the factor than a cold, deliberate murder. Like, they were just saying that she was more mentally unstable than intentionally, like, premeditated, essentially. Overall, the judge recalled the defense tactic and how it actually toned down the intensity of the courtroom. Prosecution, of course, brings their case forward first, and then defense does. So when the defense brought their case forward, they said that the case, although it toned it down, it became more complex because now we're talking about psychological evaluations and that kind of thing. So one clinical psychologist, George Riekers, said it is plausible that she could have committed suicide and taken her children with her. However, quote, her method here of committing suicide was very unusual. There are so many opportunities to get out, and now her kids are strapped in their car seats, and whatever was going to happen to them unless she rescued them, end quote. And he said this, like, testified it in court.
Right.
The trial began July 17th, 1995 and lasted 7 days. That was it. Do you know how long O.J. Simpson's trial lasted?
Yeah, I watched it every freaking moment.
9 months.
I know.
But her trial lasted 7 days, and to no surprise, she was found guilty on both counts. In the state of South Carolina, capital punishment cases are separated into 2 distinct proceedings. One being guilty or not, so the guilty phase, and the other being death or life. Are you going to get death penalty or life? Right. Should she receive the death penalty? What do you think?
Are you asking me? Because she should ride the lightning.
Oh, yeah.
Real quick.
I would have fucking... No. She would have been shot. I would have given her...
I would have taken my Mazda, strapped her in the back, and fucking sent her down a lake. And
wait, she drove a Mazda. What, you want to kill her with her same vehicle?
I drive a Mazda. I'm talking about my Mazda. Oh my God.
Okay. So for the penalty phase or the sentencing phase, the prosecution recreated the deaths of Michael and Alex Smith. They went back to the lake. They used a car identical to Susan's and video recorded the entire thing from the car rolling down into the lake off of the boat ramp to watching it flip and bob in the water.
Oh my God.
Filming not just on shore, but they also mounted a camera inside the car, roughly where Michael and Alex were strapped in. So what Michael and Alex would have seen as the water filled the car, everything. So they showed the jury a very rough view of what 3-year-old Michael and 14-month-old Alex were facing at the means of their death. Of course, the defense objected to the video being entered into evidence. However, it was allowed. The judge later recalled, quote, when I looked at it, what was apparent was within the car, the water coming up was as much more slowly rising than it appeared from the exterior of the car. It was relevant to the issue of what just could have been done to save the children, how long the time frame was in which something could have been done, end quote, which is why he went ahead and allowed it into evidence and it was not taken out. Yeah. So the judge declared it was relevant for sentencing. It took about 6 minutes for the water to fill from the time the car entered into the water until it filled up to where Alex and Michael would have drowned.
They would have been terrified.
Absolutely. 6 minutes though. I mean, sometimes you think it would be like immediate, right? It would be like 60 seconds. No, this bitch took 6 minutes.
Yeah, and they watched that car.
Susan is sitting here watching her children die for 6 minutes. Okay, so the prosecution also had David testify as a victim impact statement as the father, testifying how basically he brought the boys back to life during his testimony. And the prosecutor, Tommy Pope, said, quote, that was the first time I ever broken down after a testimony, end quote. He also said that he apologized to David for having him testify. The entire courtroom was in tears on David's testimony, including Susan, who remained very calm and quiet during the proceeding. She even whispered after David's testimony, I'm sorry, to David. He was livid after this. He didn't have the words to say, nor did he have the energy after that testimony to do anything about it, but he was fucking livid. The defense's approach during the sentencing phase, however, they used Susan's social workers, family, and friends as victim impact statements, or as just a character witnesses, I should say, to recount the most painful parts of her life. Her attorney said life would be more painful for her, and the full horror of what she had done would weigh most on her for the rest of her life. The idea of the death penalty for retribution was not the case for Susan because she wanted to die. Beverly Russell, her stepfather, took the stand also and accepted the blame for his abuse on Susan.
Really?
Also partially took the blame for her actions on murdering her children.
Wow.
I wonder how much he was paid to do that.
Holy crap, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So July 28, 1995, the jury unanimously voted to sentence Susan to life in prison versus the death penalty. David Smith said he was disappointed in the life sentence, but also respected the jury and their decision. Under the state law, she is eligible for parole after serving 30 years. She is currently serving her life sentence at Leith Correctional Institution in Greenwood, South Carolina, and is eligible for parole in 2024.
No. Okay, so we're doing a CrimeChat update on that.
Yes. Well, I doubt she will be released because she has been a less than model prisoner.
She should be dead.
To include
already.
Well, we've got self-mutilation.
Oh, okay.
And since her incarceration, she had sex with not one, but 2 prison guards. One was in 2000, the other one was in 2001. Both were convicted of the act and were fired, and subsequently she was also moved from a different prison. She was in Columbia, South Carolina. She's now in Greenwood, South Carolina. Additionally, she likes to coke. She's a drug user. Yeah. One of her prison guard flings and a former inmate told People magazine that they both witnessed Susan in her drug habit firsthand. The former inmate said, quote, snort, booty bump, swallow, shoot, I've seen her do it all. My main purpose was to bring her pills. I became her guppy, end quote.
Oh my, that's a guard?
No, that was the other prison inmate.
Oh my God. Okay.
Now, in 2015, 7 years ago, Susan wrote a letter to the newspaper called The State, which is in Columbia, South Carolina. It's the state newspaper, in which she said, quote, I am not the monster society thinks I am. I am far from it. Something went very wrong that night. I was not myself. She continued, I was a good mother, and I love my boys. There was no motive, and it was not even a planned event. I was not in my right mind, end quote.
I would beat the fuck out of her right now.
Right? Oh, guess what? Susan is dating.
What the fuck?
She told People magazine she has a long-distance boyfriend. Whom she exchanges romantic letters with. Susan likely told People magazine she imagines a normal married life and wants a fresh start when she gets her parole in 2024. People magazine wrote, the man in his mid-40s lives outside of Columbia, South Carolina, 5 minutes away. He works in a residential construction and is a divorced man with 2 adult children. He wrote to Susan after seeing a documentary about her on television, and a long-distance romance blossomed like magnolia trees here in the South.
No.
I know.
No. What is wrong with people?
No, I know. It's horrible. The last several years, she apparently has been behaving behind bars, knowing that parole is around the corner, and come 2024, will she get her happy ever after? Chatters. What do you think? You let us know. I say fuck that. Fuck that.
I'm going to try my southern accent.
Fuck that CrimeChat.
Fuck that. Like, that's
fuck
my
that. In my research in this story, I did want to throw out some very sickening statistics. I don't know if this is the cherry on top. I don't know. Okay.
Let's do it.
Filicide is the term when parents kill their children. I didn't know that. It's called filicide. Nearly 1,800 children are killed every year in the United States, which has the highest murder rate of children in the United States, and most of which are at the hand of parents, which is about 60%.
Oh my Lord.
90% of children, 90% of that 60% are murdered by their biological parent. The other 10% are by step-parents.
Oh.
The strongest predictive factor based on studies is a young maternal age, 19 years old or younger with a high school education or less and has late or absent prenatal care. So that's like a determining factor or a high factor of murdering your children. Let me tell you, okay, I was 18 and I turned 19 right after I had my son. I was married. Yes, I got married, whatever. I was already in the military at the time. I had been in the military for a year because I joined when I was 17.
Right.
I had a high school education at the time. I have a bachelor's and a master's now. I mean, no, I wasn't absent in prenatal care, but I was not going to murder my children. My son just turned 24 yesterday.
No, there is no excuse
for
what she did. There is
Fuck
zero.
that.
I don't care if you were in the worst neighborhood, at the worst situation. I don't care if she still had Beverly in her life. There is no reason why you would take the lives of two people.
Had absolutely no way to defend themselves.
No.
None.
None.
Just a couple more other little statistics here. Men are likely to kill older children while women are likely to kill the younger children.
Maybe I didn't know that.
So, altruistic filicide is when parents kill the children out of love rather than hate or anger. These also have two subcategories. Filicide associated with suicide, and then filicide to relieve or prevent suffering, which may be real or imagined. So, I feel like that's, what's the term?
Munchausen?
Munchausen, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like that's Munchausen's syndrome. Is basically when they're relieved, like trying to prevent or relieve the child from suffering, whether it's Munchausen's or maybe they are actually like facing some sort of illness and they kill their child based on that. Or the first one was based on suicide, which many women, also this is my next point, many women who succeeded with an insanity defense also plan to filicide suicide their kids, but were unsuccessful in killing themselves, but they killed their child. I don't know how that's possible.
No, it's not possible.
I don't know. I have so many questions after that. So when mothers of young children commit suicide, about 5% also kill at least one of their children.
Oh my God. Okay.
It's very, familial.
Yeah.
It has a very traumatic impact. Yeah, it's been proven psychologically that it's been proven to be a factor in somebody's mental state, understandably. But at the long term of it, one of the other things that I read is that the other inmate, so the one inmate who was with her, but there was another inmate that was also interviewed in People magazine who said that she's just come to realize how manipulative Susan Smith is.
Yeah, she's a malignant narcissist.
Yes.
That's what she is.
Absolutely. And she feels like, I did nothing wrong. I was just not in my right mind. I just killed my two children. It's fine.
Yeah.
30 years later, whatever, woman. No.
She's exactly what she needs to be. And honestly, I wouldn't even give her that much. I mean, it pains me to say I'm not a vindictive person or evil person, but it pains me to say that it hurts me to know that we are, as good people, we're good, even though we obsess about dark minds, evil crime.
We obsess about other people's fucked up lives.
Yeah.
We don't have it ourselves.
No. But for somebody to do this, and when you spoke about 6 minutes in the car, this is a dark.
And this is also, after I wrote this, what did I tell you? This is the worst story I've ever written.
Yeah, you were
horrible.
You said that. And if you're a mother, this is real bad. Because you know the sacrifices you make for a child, and to know that she did this over a breakup. Mm-hmm. And how dare we can go so deep, but I just get annoyed the fact that the courts actually entertain the fact that she was hurting during. And don't get me wrong, yes, she was definitely horrible happened to her. River. Thank you. Drop those kids off at the fire department.
Yes.
And walk away.
As we know from illicit default, you can do that in South Carolina. Yes. You can drop your kids off at a safe haven and be forgiven. Oh, I don't know. Maybe give them back to their dad, who you're legally separated from.
Right. I think she wanted to get attention. I think she wanted Tom's attention.
Yes, absolutely. Once she realized she couldn't get it by 1, going back to the company, 2, he wasn't talking about her at the tavern. All the pleas that she made to be like, take me back. No, and it didn't work. Her only choice was to kill her children for attention.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Evil.
Oh, my God.
I hope everything hits us. I hope every fucking thing hits us.
I will be petitioning 2024. Do not let this woman out.
Hell no.
She doesn't have a clean record. Her first chance of parole would be 30 years, right? So 2024, she would be eligible for parole in another 10 years. Look, this bitch has 2 life sentences. Let her be in there for life.
And it pisses me off that she's there for life.
I know, but I'm in the same boat, right? You're wasting my taxpayers' money.
Yes.
By keeping this woman alive.
She will never be a functioning part of South Carolina society.
No, God, no.
Ever.
God,
so
no.
why is she...
Look, if anybody deserves a harsh
it's
view,
her.
It is her.
She's right up there. Yeah,
she's
really
worse than Alyssa DeVault.
This makes you feel a certain way.
It makes you feel a certain way. And she should definitely... I'm sorry, yes. I said it.
Say it with your southern accent, though.
She deserves capital punishment.
Men, get your twitches out and beat that bitch.
Beat that bitch on the state capitol steps.
Oh, my God.
You're welcome.
Okay. Kat's, yes, you're welcome. Kat's accent is fucking... I'm living for it right now.
Ugh. This just enrages me to my core.
It should enrage anybody with any level of morale or love for a human being or a child.
I've already heard people, after we posted that there's only 3 episodes left of this season, and coming up next is Susan Smith, the Insidious Susan Smith.
Yes, one person said they can't even listen to it. They were like,
they're like, you know what? I know what this story's about. Not listening to it. And I get that. And I appreciate and I respect that, obviously. Right. But that's how bad she is.
That's how bad.
Burn in hell. There is a special place for you right next to Lucifer Morningstar.
Bless your heart.
No, not bless your heart. Curse your soul.
But I thought bless your heart in Southern was go fuck yourself.
In a way, but it is also like, it's also like if you say bless your heart to somebody who's just an idiot, you're like, oh, bless your heart. You have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, pity you. Right.
But it could be also like, bless your heart, fuck you. No. Curse your soul, Susan Smith. Curse your fucking soul.
All right, I gotta brush up on my Southern. All right, so after this dark story, yes, we continue down this rabbit hole, getting deeper and deeper and deeper.
Into the South.
Because we don't want to leave you hanging, chatters. Please, for more information on this case, check out After That Crime Chat, and you're going to have all that
Look, I found pictures, okay? And there are pictures out there of Susan, of her pleading in the news magazine, of course, of baby Michael and Alex, and a picture of them in the car after it was pulled out. But it is blurred out. You can't see them. It's blurred out. Like, their images are blurred out, but it just gives you an idea of what this woman did.
Rest in peace.
Yes.
Oh, my God, you poor baby.
But don't forget to follow us on Crime Chat with Nat and Kat on any of your social media needs and desires, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, to see what's coming up next. We only have 2 episodes after this.
2
episodes. Of season 1, but have no fear, chatters. Season 2 is coming.
It's coming. It's like a tsunami. Oh, it's coming, girl.
Oh, it's coming. It's gonna fill this house.
Yes, it is. And remember, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat. Subscribe to our Patreon. Bonus episodes, behind the scenes, bloopers.
Yes.
And always check out merch in the works. And by the way, the Crime Chat Crime and Cosmetic palette. And you know what? Line. We have lip lashes and an eyeshadow palette.
Yes.
It is exclusive and it is here and it is celebrating. Well, how many freaking episodes did we have? 117? Like, we have so many.
5,000 episodes.
5,000 episodes, and we've had a blast every freaking minute. So
we will end season 1 with 36 episodes.
Yay! And we will end on 36 episodes, a eyeshadow palette, freaking lippies, and lashes.
Yes.
This is the best season 1 of any fucking podcast ever.
We've got it, and I mean, we say season 1 because there's more.
Yeah, there's more.
There's not going to be just one. Oh, no. Nay. No.
But wait,
and there's more.
Mm-hmm.
So be sure to check out our next episode 35, with you, Nat.
Yes.
And please tell me you're going to make it lighter.
It's going to be fun.
Okay, thank God.
Dark, but fun. But dark, but fun. But you know us.
Okay.
It's going to be good.
But you don't want to miss a chatter, so we will see you next week on the Crime Chat for our second to last